You're listening to the Drinks and a Movie podcast, hosted by Rudy Ruiz. Spoiler alert.
All right, rolling Drinks and a Movie podcast. What's up, everybody? Carissa and I are back. We're talking more horror movies. We just finished talking about The Beyond by Lucio Fulci, and we decided we're just going to do his whole Gates of Hell trilogy. So we're doing City of the Living Dead, aka Gates of Hell from 1980, which is actually the first of that trilogy, The Beyond being the second. I just got House by the Cemetery on Blu-ray yesterday, so we'll be watching that soon.
Nice.
And for this one, we're going to be drinking. We're trying out, this is from Southern Tier Brewing Co. This is the Pumpking Imperial Pumpkin Ale coming in at 8.6%. We're going to get nice and buzzed for our short film shoot coming up after this.
We're going to take so many creative liberties on the short film.
Here, cheers. All right. Here we go.
Oh, it smells so good.
Oh, man. All right.
Wow.
Wow, that's like rich. Shit. I haven't had a pumpkin ale in a minute. That one's rich.
Oh, my gosh. It is.
In a good way.
In a really good way. And it like dissipates really fast. Like now. Damn, that was intense. I was not expecting that.
It's interesting. It's like if
really
you could turn a pumpkin cookie or like a pumpkin muffin into a beer, that's exactly what this tastes like.
A pumpkin muffin, hands down, because it was just so full.
Yeah.
I really like this. Okay.
So they had another one that was the same pumpkin ale, Southern Tier, same brand, but it said caramel pumpkin. And I almost got that one too. I'll save it for another movie. But I was like, that might be too sweet. So let's see how this is.
Yeah.
And I feel like this one for me is pretty sweet.
Yeah. It's sweet for me too, believe it or not. Like it does. It tastes like a treat.
Yeah.
You know?
It's yeah, man, this is a good one. I haven't had pumpkin ales in a while because I only drink them around this time of year, but I feel like they're typically pretty light. This might be, of all the ones I've had, in which I've had many over the years of doing the podcast, this is probably the most rich, like flavorful one.
I like this one. It's good. I don't know how many of these I would realistically be able to drink.
Yeah, probably for me, it'd be like a one at a time kind of thing. That's how I feel about like sours.
Yeah.
I don't know if you drink sour. Like they're good, but I can only have like not even a full pint. Like I can have like half of one.
And you're like, I'm done.
I'm good for like a couple years. But yeah, all right.
This one, thumbs up. I really like it.
Hopefully I can find just like a single bottle or like a bomber of the caramel one, because I don't know that I want to buy like a full 4-pack.
Right.
But I would be curious to try it. I just think it would. I can imagine it being too sweet.
Yeah, probably. But this one, fire.
Yeah.
Good
No,
choice.
this is a banger.
The city of the dead. The living dead. A cursed city. Where the gates of hell have been opened.
You've got to. You must reclose those gates.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special broadcast. Dunwich police authorities have declared a state of emergency, effective immediately within Dunwich County. All citizens are requested to return to their homes as quickly as possible. In case of necessity, contact this station, DWC. The telephone number is 825-9881. All citizens are urged to remain calm.
Did you see, when you were in this trance, did you see anything besides that tombstone?
Oh, yes. I saw a priest who, by hanging himself, opened the gates of hell.
She's still here. She's still in the house. No, she's in here. I know she's still in the house. I don't want to see her anymore. Jerry, get her out, please. Tell her to go. She's in here. Do you hear her?
Guess what? It's All Saints' Day.
A demanding, implacable enemy whose search for blood is never satiated.
All right, so City of the Living Dead, I saw this for the first time.
Yes.
I haven't watched this since I think I was in high school, and I realize why now. If I can just give another little anecdote, and then I want to hear your thoughts before I go into it.
Okay.
I was really getting into horror films in high school and watching all kinds of stuff. I was watching a lot of like foreign stuff at the time, mainly like Japanese cinema, Korean cinema, and all that, and really into Takashi Miike. And, you know, started getting into Lucio Fulci, I think through Zombie 2, or Zombie was the first one I saw because I was really into George Romero and I found out about the stuff. And I saw through some weird compilation the scene in this movie, which blew me away. Like, this was the craziest thing I had ever seen for a few years. It's so, like, tame now to me, but is the scene where the couple's, like, making out in the car and the priest stares at her so hard that her eyes bleed.
Yeah.
And she starts, like, just puking up all her insides.
Yeah.
And which, from what I understand, they got like real like animal intestines and stuff, and so it's all like real.
Oh my
shit.
gosh!
Yeah. That they got from like a butcher.
Believable.
So,
it was.
Yeah. So I remember that scene just being crazy to me, and then I got the DVD and watched them. All right, yeah, it's cool, but revisiting it now, I feel like this movie, I'm just gonna say it outright, is like pretty weak. And let me give the synopsis. Sorry, I forgot to do it. So a reporter and a psychic race to close the gates of hell after the suicide of a clergyman caused them to open, allowing the dead to rise from their graves. So I want to go to you now. You're just seeing this for the first time.
All right, I'm going to tell you something too.
Yeah.
I rented it to watch. Kind of watched it. Started watching it. And then... like, I was like, what the fuck's going on in this movie? I was like, okay, okay. And then I was like, I'll revisit it tomorrow and, like, really watch it. Because I was like, I'll just come back and watch it. And then it expired. I had to rent it again. And watch it. No, which is fine. It was $2. It didn't matter. But it didn't, like... I don't know. It didn't catch me how the other one did. You know what I mean? I wasn't, like, right away, like, yeah, I was just kind of, like, all the jumping around to this one, to that one. I just... kind of was all over the place in a way that I wasn't like interested in, but I love the effects in it that were just, it is just so ridiculous. And I try to have Ben watch it with me and he's like, no. Is this what you and Rudy watch? I'm like, yeah, it is. I'm definitely not going to let him see Terrifier now because he's going to think we're psychopaths.
He might like Terrifier a little more, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know, because he's just like,
modern.
He's like, how long have you been watching movies like this? I was like, since I was a kid. He's like, okay. He's like, because I was going to say if it happened last year and now you're watching all these crazy things, I'd be a little concerned.
Like, stop hanging out with that guy.
Exactly. But I don't know. I didn't love this. Mm-hmm. I liked the effects. I liked what it was, but it wasn't smacking for me.
Yeah. Back to that though, I am like, happy that I feel like I've gotten you into the Italian like genre of the horror shit. But yeah, especially and I realized like watching it again, because I haven't watched it in like probably over 10 years. This DVD's been on my shelf. I haven't watched it in a long time. And I realized as I'm seeing it, I'm like, man, it makes sense why I never revisited it. I guess I like even back then didn't really care for it, but was probably at a place where I'm like making myself think things are better than they are, especially because it's pretty hip to be like the young dude that's into all these fucking movies that no one else has seen or watching, and then you find the people that are into that and it's cool. And and especially since I've explored way more of his filmography like since then, it's pretty weak by comparison. And coming right off watching the Beyond, it's a crazy comparison because I'm like, man, Beyond is like on such a whole other level.
Exactly. I was expecting that for this, and this one I'm just like, it just felt so basic, like just
very bland.
Very bland, yeah.
I mean, there's some cool, like the atmosphere is good, the creepiness. It does have like a pretty different aesthetic and vibe from Beyond.
Yes.
And I think the music does a lot too. Like, whereas the music, we talked about it a lot in that episode, is so like epic, and I love it. Of the Fabio Frizzi scores I've heard, that's probably the best one. This one, I like the theme that happens at the end when they're after Christopher George dies, which was genuinely surprising. I completely forgot that he gets killed. The journalist guy, like the other main character besides the chick, the one that saves her, dies at the end. And I forgot that happened. I didn't see it coming at all. And I was like, oh shit.
My gosh.
Yeah.
I didn't understand. Maybe we can talk about the ending too, because I did not understand that ending.
With the kid? I don't know either.
Okay, because I was like, ew, what? I was like, his eyes aren't bleeding. What's going on? Why is she screaming? What happened? I was just researching this on the way here that the original film, or somehow that end, like that reel or whatever, got destroyed or lost or some bullshit, so they didn't have it, and they had to they just did some editing. Let's just think of something real quick.
It right here. Yeah, like, all right, let's just put them in slow motion and make screaming sounds.
Stop
and freeze frame. Yeah, that's what I heard. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. I just watched a YouTuber talk about it on the way here because I wanted to get some information too. Like, what's the interpretation here? But I haven't really researched it. All I know is for me watching it, I don't know, didn't really hit. I mean, yeah, the effects are great. One part that was just as crazy back then and is still equally as crazy is there's this weird side plot with, is it Bob, that like white junkie guy?
So that's one thing I was like,
because I remember thinking this back then, and it happens, and the same thing now. So there's the townspeople don't like him because he's a junkie and I guess sleeps with their daughters. I don't know, but he sees some shit. He's scared. He gets caught up in one of the dad's garages.
He was about to smoke weed with the daughter, and she's like, let's just smoke some weed really quick in the car. And then the dad comes in, and she's like, and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, I was just looking for a place to sleep, sir. Like, I swear, like, that's all I was doing. So the daughter basically gets poor Bob in trouble.
Yeah, the daughter runs off. And dad murders him very brutally.
Drills him in the head.
Yeah, puts him in this slow suspenseful, just pushing him towards the drill. It's cutting back and forth. And then, in good old Lucio Fulci fashion, they don't cut away from anything. You're just seeing this drill go right through him. Amazing. So great effect. But the dude, so dad murders this guy. And then it never comes back. It has nothing to do with any, it's like a little side story that just happens.
No tie-in.
We never cut back to the father or the daughter or any of these other characters. No consequence, completely unbothered.
No, nothing. And I was just like, okay, I thought, I was like, oh, maybe he's possessed or nothing. He just saw the priest at the beginning or something, right? And he didn't
yeah, because he was with that other chick, I think, and then she gets scared to death. She sees the zombie priest, and he puts worms and mud on her face, and then she dies of fright, and he runs off.
It's so funny though, because I thought at the beginning when what's your name was having her therapy session, and the girl just walks in oh hey. Hey, just in the middle of therapy, saying, hi, I wanted to marry my dad until I found out he was a drunk. And I'm sitting there watching, so I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, what is...
Yeah, when I was 8, I wanted to marry my father. But I guess all daughters want to marry their fathers. But then I grew out of it pretty quickly because he was a drunk.
I was like,
anyway, we have to go save the world from hell. That's a bizarre part. I do like that. The opening scenes, though, where the priest does kill himself, and
and the
it's
witch,
all the psychic
the seance,
people, and the circle, and she's scream, don't break contact. And there's the close, the macro shot of her eye, and then there's a shot of him superimposed. That was pretty cool, some cool artistic photography going on. And man, also the sequence though, where they're burying her. And then the journalist, Christopher George, hears her screaming. And he's alluding to some stuff. And they're like, yo, union rules, man. We're clocking out.
Right, 5 o'clock.
She ain't going nowhere. But he hears her. That is a great sequence and very suspenseful. And when the pickaxe is going through the coffin, that part's cool.
He's like, I'm going to save her. I'm like, you're almost killing her every time you pickaxe at the thing. But I loved that. And I love when he pulled the last one. And it's just a shot into the coffin, and it's just her face, and she's just screaming. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
That was that was really cool. That was a really cool shot, really cool sequence. I liked all that. That was great. And then when she's clawing at the coffin too, and her nails are all bloody. That kind of stuff I was definitely into.
Well, and she's the same actress from Beyond too, Catriona McCall, and she is also in House by the Cemetery. So same lead actress, but a different character in each movie.
I like that. That's cool. And I like her. I like her as an actress. She's great.
Yeah.
I really like the effect at the beginning when, after she dies and the cop comes and she's or the other psychic is you don't even know. The cop is looking over. He's like, what is that? And then fire just burst up from the ground, and they reverse it and put it back up. And I was like, man, this movie's gonna be wacky.
Good classic, just not really making sense. The zombies are
ghosts,
interesting.
But zombies,
ghosts, zombies,
can teleport.
Kinda flesh eaters, I guess, but not really. Interesting take on it. And what I've realized though, so I was watching this. I had to spend 2 nights to watch it, which I don't like to do, but I've been busy. Obviously,
you and me both, my good sir.
Yeah.
It took me 2 nights as well.
That's the price of trying to get so many movies done, but it's worth it. But I went to Amoeba I picked up my Blu-ray of House by the Cemetery. I picked up Late Night with the Devil. I got the Steelbook. I'm not like super into that like other people, but I was like, I'm gonna get this one.
Might as well.
And I got Prince of Darkness, John Carpenter's movie, which I think we should cover this year.
I've never seen that.
Okay, I've seen it maybe 3-4 times now, and including in theaters, a New Beverly at a midnight screen. I think last year, or probably that 2022 year. I think, that I kept mentioning. But we should cover that because we can't have an October without at least one John Carpenter movie.
100%.
So we'll do Prince of Darkness. But like what I'm building up towards is I realize it's like I grabbed the Blu-ray and I'm thinking about this movie and what we're doing. And I'm like, man, you know what? I'm like, I feel like, and I'll have to listen to the commentary on Prince of Darkness to see if he mentions it. But I feel like he was kind of influenced by Lucio Fulci's zombie style movies. Because they'll just like appear and they'll just have like weird makeup and be like underlit. And it's cool and creepy. Like Prince of Darkness does a similar approach with that, Okay. Stylistically. And I'm like, I wonder if he was like watching these movies at that point. And it was like, I'm going to like do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because it seems very specific to these films, So it made me even more like, we should cover that movie. So see if you see the same kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I'm just like, City of Living Dead.
But yeah, man. I mean, yeah.
I it was just interesting. The maggot scene. Oh my god, the maggot scene.
Dude, it kills me.
I literally, and that's when Ben and I cut it off. He was like. I was like, I'll watch this later without you. I'll just do this by myself. It was just one of those things. I was just like, man. Ugh.
Yeah, man. And it's one of those, much like the acid and the tarantula scene in The Beyond, where it goes on just a little too long. A
little bit, just a little. But my favorite, he like, the phone's ringing. He just brushes him off the phone and picks it up like, hello.
And when you see the wide shot and the whole floor is like, it looks like packing peanuts. Like, just tiny little packing peanuts. That shit's disgusting. There's some slick camera work in this one, though. Like, there's one moment where it's a bearded guy and that other blonde chick who ends up getting killed. And it's because they see the coffin with an old lady in the kitchen, and then it disappears.
And there's standing behind the thing.
That's right. And there's a moment, like, building up to that where there's, like, a 2 shot of them through one, and the camera, like, it's, like, one take that goes on for, I want to say, a minute or two. And the camera kind of slides over. And then as it gets to the other side of the door, they walk out and it's a new angle. And then it follows them here and there. And I thought that was really slick. So that was nice. And it like stood out compared to other parts in the film, that one shot. So that was pretty interesting.
Because usually it's kind of like shaky zoom ins really quick. And man, I love those. I love it. And like the cha-cha right into the face.
Yeah.
I like those. We got to start doing more of those. Those are fun for me.
Yeah, I just needed one of those $20,000.
Yes.
Like 20 millimeter, the 300 millimeter lenses.
Good point. All right.
Yeah. I mean, this one is okay. I feel like there's not much happening. Like the priest stuff is pretty creepy. The sound design. One thing that really stood out to me is the music that we hear through most of the music, not the themes that play at the end when they're in the catacombs, which I do like, but it's so much a ripoff of Dawn of the Dead, of the Goblin score from the original Dawn of the Dead. So much of a ripoff of that. And then even on the car on the way here, I'm like, am I remembering this right? So I was listening to this. Listen to Goblin, Dawn of the Dead. Dead. And you're like, and I'm like, it's the same. You're like, you ripped it off for sure. But yeah,
they did good suspense. Oh, you know what though? One of my favorite things, just the signature kill in this was always the zombies grabbing the back of the head and squishing the brains out.
Yeah, just pulling out a big chunk of brains.
Every single time. I thought it'd be something different. But you know what? One of my favorite parts that they did do, I did love how when they would see the priest, they would bleed out of the eyes. And I'm like, was everybody's hair curled like that so they could have little pumps right here?
I was...
And I was like, oh my God. I was like, this looks fucking great. And before, in the car when the girl was switched, obviously, to the very obvious dummy, when she was kind of like having the stuff and like spitting it out
like the real intestines coming out the mouth.
I was like, wow, that looks great. And then, when it started like protruding out of like the dummy's mouth, which you could, you can obviously, it's very obvious.
Even, that is like the set, to me, like the set piece of the movie is that kill. That like, and I think that's the second or first kill of the movie. Even when it is still her face, like you can tell, like you said, you can tell when they cut to the doll or the dummy. But when it's still her and she's like foaming and just spitting out like goop and shit. But yeah, the eye bleeding shit, man. I was like really looking to see like, how are you guys doing this? Like, because I could not, because it has to be some kind of tube going under their eye, but it's
I think
hidden so well. Because the blood
girls
isn't coming out right here.
No,
it's like in the middle of their eyes.
But I was just like, how are they doing that? But then I was like, maybe it was coming from like, even if it comes here, it like wells up and falls, because both of the times the girl's hair is like this,
kind of covering
kind of covering the corners. And I was like, ooh, I want to learn how they do that, because I thought, it's like, this shit's it's weird to watch.
It looks very real. Like it looks super fucking because the key thing is that you see it welling up in their actual eyeballs. Like
I can't remember the last time I've seen like a movie that did that kind of shit. You know what I mean?
I haven't. And if a movie has done it in the last 20 years, guaranteed it was CGI.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that's a dangerous, you know what I mean? You're playing a dangerous game there, welling up the actor's eyes. But the payoff, it looked amazing.
Yeah. I couldn't see it at all. I was really looking for how it was happening. And I was thinking about that too. Like, all right, is it behind the hair? Like, I don't know.
Even
but I still couldn't.
The tubes are so tight, you can't even see.
Yeah. Couldn't tell at all. Like fucking masterwork of like makeup effects right there.
That's brilliant. And this one was, if we're going in order, it's this one.
The Beyond.
And
then House by the Cemetery.
Okay, cool.
So I'd be curious. I mean, I'm sure it's not going to wrap it up, House by the Cemetery, because we know these movies just are kind of style over logic.
Yeah.
And over,
Which is hard for me. I have a hard time with that, with these things.
Yeah, same.
And the funny thing, like with this one, I'm like, okay, so we have story A, B, C, D. There's a bunch, but like the three guys in the bar, and he's like, oh, this town, da 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 da, and then like the building cracks open.
Yeah,
it's like shoddy construction.
Yeah, too many drinks. You've seen things, but the building just opened up. Yeah. Well, that was kind of weak. That was surprisingly weak, like when they're getting all surrounded by the zombies or whatever, but then we cut away to other shit going on. So like we don't see anything happen.
I know.
We cut back later, they're just kind of dead. So that became kind of meaningless. And we already mentioned the Bob guy that just doesn't come back. And just gets murdered.
He had a brutal man, and I was like, wow, like way to make him a martyr. That was awful.
Yeah. I guess that's the other. I said just the eye, like throwing up the intestine shit, but that's the other like key death is him like getting the drill through the head, and the great effect too, where it's like you can see that it's his real head, even though they have the close up of the drill, because he's like screaming and is moving his eyes, and it's for sure not a puppet or an animatronic. It's definitely the real actor. So I love stuff like that. We got to get back to that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, Terrifier is pretty much doing. So thank goodness for Terrifier.
Yeah, man. I was pleasantly surprised.
Well, I don't have really anything else to say about this one, man. City of the Living Dead. It's fine if you're into Fulci. I mean, check it out.
Check it out for the kills, like, and the weirdness, and just, man, they must have killed a lot of worms and a lot of maggots in this thing. And I always thought, I'm like, do they just... like, what do you guys do with them? But I guess you can get them at bait shops. You know how, like, they have, like, no animal is harmed in this. I wonder how...
I mean, who knows in, like, early 80s, late 70s, like, Italian film industry. But I know here, like, in 2012, when I was first getting into movies, I PA'd on this, like, silly horror movie that never went anywhere. But they had a bug wrangler. They did a bunch of bug stuff and a bunch of worm stuff. And this dude... the Wrangler guy was like dead. Even the fucking worms that you would think, whatever, they're worms.
Yeah, like we use them to fish.
No, dead serious about all that. Like you can't hurt any of these things. They all have to be accounted for. Like you got to be super careful. Like they don't fuck around. And this was like a low budget fucking nothing movie that didn't go anywhere. And even in that case, they were like super careful about taking care of the insects.
I mean, which is nice.
I just hate them all. I think they should all just be eradicated. But that's just me.
Everybody's like, take care of the insects, but then we're going to go on break and eat our cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
Like, wait a second. I don't know. Whatever. I always think about that, though, because I'm like, wow, that's a lot of maggots and a lot of worms and a lot of nasty shit throughout this entire movie. I was like, I wonder who was in charge of that. And then they had the maggots on their face.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't do that.
I would never.
Can't do that.
So watch the movie just to see them all have maggots on their face in the same spots, but like,
Ugh. All right.
disgusting.
Yep, that's it. City of Living Dead, a.k.a. Gates of Hell. That's a wrap. Cheers.
Cheers.